And here we are back again with yet another segment for today's Money Matters Monday messages, beloved Cosmic Familia. Thank you so very much for tuning in whenever you do tune in. And know beyond all doubt that the light of protection surrounds us throughout our days. It is at our side and guiding our words and actions to come from a place of love, clearing our energy and vibration completely of negative thoughts and beliefs, releasing fear and self-limiting beliefs, helping us to fully and completely experience love, light, and joy that is present in every moment and guiding our path for our highest and greatest good. So it is, so it is, so it is. 111 on the timer. Let's take a look. 111 on the timer. We have 1111. Oh, there's 111. So we're going to look at both. And I also saw 911 this morning as I was clearing my cell to get started with the day and today's messages. So we're going to go over that one first. As 911 represents courage, a doorway has opened for us, and while apprehension may be felt, allow courage to flow in as we put our best foot forward. We are being encouraged to let curiosity lead us and know that the divine has our back. We allow courage to prevail as curiosity leads us through new doors. Remember, these are vocation-related messages. So this isn't about like romance or any of these things. And then we also have destiny with 111. Follow what you feel. Listen as your intuition helps to guide you to what you are manifesting. The inner whispers are helping you to create all that it is that you desire. Listen, lean in, and follow your soul. Life is always happening for us. We are allowing ourselves to lean into what feels good. And 1111, intuition. This can also represent new beginnings, beloveds. Trusting yourself, your inner whisper is working hard to let you know that it is guiding you. Listen in. What is it saying? Feel it. Where is it telling you to go next? See it. Close your eyes and allow and trust the path you are on. Our intuition speaks to us and we listen. We trust that all things are happening for a purpose. All right, I'm going to just take a couple of sips of my beverage. Coffee. And here we go. Of course, due to the first message of the day, I was drawn to the Oracle of Visions and looking for the card relevant to the message earlier. Something along the lines of just allowing them to fall. And I don't know for sure which card it is. So we're going to play a little guessing game here first. Yep. Okay, it was the first card I went to, and interestingly enough, it's the number 18, which is typically in most areas of the world like the of age category. And it is a mother embracing their child. Okay? So, I'm just going to read directly from the guidebook. Now remember, this pertains to vocations, not romantic relationships, not family disputes, not any of that. Nurturing and taking care of others are the two different definition titles to this card. When you are a mother, you are never really alone in your thoughts. A mother always has to think twice, one for herself and once for her children, quoted by Sophia Loren. This card may represent the nurturing nature of a mother embracing her child, a teacher guiding his student, or a master training his apprentice. See where the vocational part comes in? Each balances the desire to protect and provide direction to those under his or her care, with the need to also allow room for personal growth. We can prepare them, inform them, advise them, but eventually there will come the moment when we will need to resist the impulse to reach out and instead must let them fall. When they rise again of their own accord, which all that came out in the bicycle deck, and Wisdom of the Hidden Realms, which we're bringing back into this session among at least one other deck. But nevertheless, that is the message primarily for this week in terms of our vocations. We can prepare them, inform them, advise them, but eventually there will come the moment when we will need to resist the impulse to reach out, and instead must let them fall. When they rise again of their own accord, we can take comfort in knowing that we taught them well. So we've done enough in terms of reaching out, sharing insights. But I'm hearing that these obstacles that are being thrown their way are part of their life lessons, and it's time for us to back off, but continue to observe. Now, do keep in mind that the second definition, as stated in the title for video 1 today, is a remark. So, remarks being made are all part of observation. And others don't have to like it. Not everybody is our friend. We stated the case for each individual situation, and now we're being guided to stop reaching out so heavily and simply just observe, because there's still more to learn from these situations, and that's why we keep getting guided back to them. Besides our intuitions. So there's that. But it's not the only energy coming through for this week pertaining to our vocations. Although being observant most certainly is beneficial and part of the message. But so is resisting that urgency to reach out and just button our lips and sit back and observe. As we're not only learning more about others, we are learning more about ourselves, where we may have some unfinished work to do, but to also not get caught up in their words causing us to have any self-doubts. Now, if you want a really good example of how the majority of the time there are ways of addressing these energies, you can go check out OEL on YouTube, TikTok, X, Patreon, perhaps even more. Our everyday lives. There's a lot we can learn from observing that channel. And that's that. Observe, if you will. Ooh. And in the first message of the day, I did 3 rows of 7, 7, 7, 7 with the bicycle deck. And interestingly enough, at the bottom of the deck, look what we have. Speaking on that gambler mentality, the first card that came out in part 1, 777. Well, I mean, that's a cherry, but you can see the 7 above it getting ready to roll into place. So this card is also synchronizing with today's messages. And we have yet another angel number to look into in just a moment. But first, we are going to go into the guidebook and see what this card is all about. Number 21. Lady Luck. There are, let's see, 5 different energetic definitions for this card. One of them is Lady Luck. The next one is Fate. The one to follow is Taking Risks. And the one to follow past that is Evaluating the Odds. And the final definition term is Superstition. So, word is, if you believe in luck, it's a form of superstition. You have to ask yourself one question. Do you feel lucky? Well, do ya, punk? Quoted by Clint Eastwood in the movie Dirty Harry. I'm going to say that again. Do I feel lucky? Well, do ya, punk? This card is all about evaluating the odds and taking risks, which is the opposite of that Jack that came out in reverse as the first card in video 1. It is about that player mentality being turned upside down. Deciding to no longer take any risks towards false leadership. Interestingly enough, in round 2, in part 2 of this week's Money Matters Monday messages, we have the same energy, we have that gambling, risk-taking energy, but this time it's in the upright, which tells me that again, as stated in video 1, these players, these false leaders, or otherwise people who are in a position of having the potential to be good leaders, but they're not demonstrating it at this time. They are actually choosing to be part of the same energy of what they supposedly expel, which is that Judas, Jezebel, trolling type of vibe. That clearly, unbeknownst to them, as they're asking, why do they keep coming around? Blah, blah, blah. Because you are attracting them. That's why. Keep your shirt on, kid. You know? So, yeah. This card is all about evaluating the odds and taking risks. Life is a constant roll of the dice, so you must consider all the pros and cons. While some choices can be avoided, others we are forced to make. Each comes with its own promise of reward or consequence. Our perception of our chances are often influenced by our individual abilities, beliefs, or superstitions, but ultimately only the lady knows what cards she holds. A playing card deck and dice. As a matter of fact, my favorite tools to use as of late to deliver messages. Lady Luck personifies our conceptual approach to luck and fate. Adorned and surrounded by a collection of associated symbols, she offers us another card that will determine whether we have a winning or losing hand. Now listen, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I don't buy into luck. To me, it's not luck. It's all God. It's all source energy. That connection that each and every one of us we have. If it's the only innate, then it's still there. That innate connection with source. Even as a non-believer, it's there. Like it or not, it's there. So, are we relying too much on luck? Are we struggling to pay our bills but still buying a lottery ticket? Are we basing important decisions simply on the hope that things will turn out in our favor? If so, good luck. And keep your fingers crossed. Yet another superstition. And now that song is stuck in my head. The song Superstition. The writing's on the wall. The writing is on the wall. Okay, I'm feeling guided to go back into the Oracle of Visions again. But before we do so, we're going to take a look at this number. 18 and 21 combined as an angel number. We have been rapidly manifesting our desires and wishes through the power of positive thinking. Also, we have to recognize and appreciate those who kept fighting for their lives. In other words, they should realize that they have done a great job. Equally, we should encourage them to keep fighting because this is not the end of the journey. Equally, they should experience the greatness of their work. This is clarifying what I was just saying about, you know, instead of remarking or responding through our observations, put it into prayer. Put it into prayer for them to recognize and appreciate and keep fighting. And realize that they've done a great job before. They're capable of doing it now. So, we're being guided to still aim for that gift of understanding, even when they are more in their shadow. And that they too deserve to experience greatness of their work when that is what they produce. So, to continue to observe, but in the first definition of it. That's it. And to refrain from any remarks unless we're actually guided to do so. And even then, they're not going to see it that way. Sometimes when we reach out to our loved ones, as we see them going down a dangerous rabbit hole, they're not seeing it as us lovingly reaching out. They're seeing us as the trolls. They're seeing us as the problem, the Judases. And even though they are incorrect, they're still entitled to honor their own feelings. That's that. Whether we like it or not. And this happens in every workplace setting. Whether you are a sole proprietor, or you're more into the arts and turning that into an income funnel, or you work in some kind of factory setting, hospitality, retail. The cackling hens are everywhere, beloveds. So, discerning, most importantly, what is even worthy of a response. In most situations, most times, we're meant to observe without making any remarks. Because again, the moment that we make a remark, they're going to look at us like we are the problem. Going into full-fledged denial all over again. They don't want to hear it from us. Period. And any remark that doesn't gas them up is going to sound and feel like a threat to them. So do please keep that in mind. There's always going over their head at the end of the day. If it's creating issues that are counterproductive in a major scale, go over their head. Because they have someone to answer to as well. Go over their head. Take it to the proper authority. Hand it over to Source. (1821). Remember, we are strong enough and kind enough to take on everything that is waiting for us to embrace it. But also remember to push on forward. We have energy just waiting to help us find our way into our next move. Compassion for others is good for both of us, meaning us and those around us. So there it is. Embracing more compassion and sharing that freely. Not the other remarks that, now listen, even if we are divinely led to them to build our spiritual muscles and observe it, and even when we're being guided to make a remark on it, if they're not receptive to it, if they think we are the problem, then they will just have to sit with what they heard later on when they don't feel like they're in a confrontational setting. All right. New things are coming our way, meaning for us and them. We're being guided to make sure that we keep ourselves in our best place. And anything new that's coming our way, we're being guided to utilize that to benefit everyone all the way around. That fairness and balance came out with the Keepers of the Scales card in part 1. So it is also clarifying that card. At the bottom of the deck we have 22. And this gentleman. Let's take a look. How this pertains to our vocations, we shall see. Reflections, looking back, and hindsight. A moral being is one who is capable of reflecting on past actions and motives, of approving of some and disapproving of others, quoted by Charles Darwin. Isn't that something? As we're sitting here doing a bit of reflection together, whenever you tune in, I'm reflecting on how I have chosen to observe up to this point and making the initiative to making the conscious decision to continue to observe, but make less of the second definition of observation, which is the remarks. Successes, failures, mistakes, and regrets all belong in the past and cannot be changed. Some things should not be dwelt upon, and we should move on. But both the good and bad have value and have contributed to what we are now and offer lessons to be learned for future decisions. This is exactly what I'm talking about when I speak on those spiritual muscles. Not for some hard-nosed narcissist to attack our communities. In this scene, a man reviews a selection of images from his past. A retro-style projector is loaded with images of other cards from this deck. As his expression is neutral, it's unclear whether those projected images are evoking fond memories or painful regrets. Probably like any album or catalog from the past, it will be a mixture of both. Do not dwell on the past. There may also be a tendency to overlook details and remember with emotional bias rather than accuracy, and that came out in part 1 as well. However, we're being guided to be even more so unbiased by, again, taking a step back, gathering, and being more compassionate and unbiased, observing without reflecting out loud. So let's look at what is being projected here. All sorts of them I recognize, including the man-eater. But the man-eater is not relevant to the vocation unless, of course, she's a fraternizer and hooks up with dudes while she's supposedly working. They hook up through work-related connections. But again, that's not what's being projected here. Now let's see, I'm going to find the card being projected because we're going to read on that one as well. The number 15. Whoa. The number 15. Ooh, a lovely lady with a message. Closure is what's standing out to me right now. Closure. Forever and forever farewell, Cassius. If we do meet again, why? We shall smile. If not, why then this parting was well made. Quoted in Julius Caesar by William Shakespeare. It's portraying a farewell, which might be a final parting or a temporary parting. But what I'm getting from this is a temporary parting from the remarks. A tragic loss or simply a turned page could be leading to a new future. The woman's sober expression gives us no clue as to the content of her envelope. A farewell message, yes, but one received or to be given. The rose suggests a possible lover's separation. But is it a final goodbye or a temporary one until next time? So again, this is giving me those I was getting those man-eater vibes from the card behind this one. About not just women, but people who choose to fraternize and hang the mistletoe at work. Even if you're like, oh, it's not work if you love what you do, it's a vocation. Yeah, well, getting it on with clients, coworkers, so on and so forth is a bad move. Highly unprofessional, but it goes way beyond being unprofessional. It could lean towards a permanent farewell to your vocation. And perhaps even internet privileges being revoked if you work online, or as mentioned in part 1, no PTO. PTO stands for paid time off. But if you're being disciplined, they're not going to send you home and pay you for it. Period, poo. And this type of discipline is applied online and in person. I've seen it. I've seen people get their pay privileges completely revoked working online because of their shenanigans. And it won't be the last time if they keep it up. Either way, as an airport scene will demonstrate, departure lounges tend to be sadder than arrivals. The birds flying in the background suggest that a return is in the future. So, this is not a final farewell necessarily. Our lives are a constant flow of them, though. People, places, and things, some with regret, but some with enthusiasm, as they are replaced with new options. So this is confirming, again, what I also said in part 1. To be unbiased, to refrain from the remarks as we observe as often as possible. And it also came out in the bicycle deck that even these so-called leaders who they're coming off as false leaders right now, like full of shit, false. Regurgitating the same thing over and over again. And you know what they're doing? It's called crowd working. But not the good kind, like when the comedians get together and work the crowd. No. They're advocating from their shadow, which means they're advocating their shadow, beloveds. They are being subservient to that vibration that has become the lord of their vices. And that's not our problem. Again, being guided to fall back, but continue to observe and allow them to fall on their own. And then again, our lives, constant flow of farewells, people, places, things, some with regret. Oh, Oh, hear that stutter? My rainbow fluorite was knocked over. Bringing it in for clear, concise communication at this time. Some with regret, but some with enthusiasm as they are replaced with new options. And that's what we are going to go into with the wisdom of the hidden realms. As clearly, in terms of vocation, new options are going to be coming in for the collective. Even if it wasn't planned, it was fated. Here we go. Going into the nitty-gritty details of these new options coming in for the collective. Oh, okay. Well, that's a lot. All these cards turned over. The High Lady of Love and Compassion. See, now being more compassionate towards those who are struggling to realize that they're actually calling in what they're aiming to expel. It's like they don't even know that they're attracting what they don't want. The Ringmaster of Scrutiny, the Prison Waif. Their discernment, their forms of discernment are what is leading to this self-sabotage. And then we have the Rainbow Prince and the Word Lord. So it's either way, their communication is going to be compensated. So when they choose clear vision and praise, the compensation is going to look different than when they choose dishonesty and self-sabotage. The results are going to look different, even if they don't realize that they are part of the problem. Oh, looks like we have more cards turned over. But I'm not going to go over all of these cards because this is insane how all these different cards turned over. What we do have is the Desert Prince. False promises. And I'm getting that the Desert Prince is coming in as a challenger this time. So we're actually going to look into it. The Desert Prince. Well, apparently there is a movie based off of a book, but that's not what we're looking into. No. We're looking into what this is metaphysically. And the Desert Prince reminds us that we are strong and capable. However, they're coming in as a challenger. May we be reminded that all lives have times of difficulty. May we remember to be thankful for our struggles because they are catalysts for our growth. May we trust that a time of peace, safety, and prosperity is in our future. And may we offer love and peace today to those around us. So there it is. Even if we are not the ones going through the struggles, it's as though we forgot that we can actually learn and integrate lessons without being the ones going through them, which again is part of the reason why we are continuously angelically led to these different people, places, things, situations, forums, online, whatever. Collectives, because there's also lessons of what not to do that we can learn through others without pointing it out to the rest. It's giving me that fixing the crown without informing the crowd that it's crooked. That type of scrutiny. Ooh, as a challenger. So, although it may feel like our loved ones are going to perish in the heat and emptiness of their difficult times, the Desert Prince has their back as much as ours. And they're going to make it safely through the desert, because the Desert Prince is going to make sure of it. Be strong. Take courage. No matter what, who, what, when, where, how, why, the going throughs. Remember that it too is temporary and it will come to an end. All of us will come out on the other side amazed at how well it worked out. As this Desert Prince is showing up to work miracles on our behalf. So again, taking a step back, continuing to observe, but without the second definition. And the Desert Prince, the energy of the Desert Prince, will take it from there. All right. More details on the options. The new options coming in for the collective pertaining to vocations, money matters in general, actually. Money matters Monday. Gaia's Garden came out in part 1 as well, and it's making another appearance, along with the Queen of Light and the High Lord of Gratitude and Service. So this is saying to focus on our positive feedback loop with Gaia's Garden, as the truth is already being brought to light and illuminated. And in coming with that illumination is humility. But it's going to be up to them whether they take conscious action towards the new options coming in for them. So focusing on being on board with that positive feedback loop, being more compassionate even towards those that we can see right through, beloveds. What else is coming in terms of new options? I'm feeling guided to do one more row. This time, though, we have 4 cards instead of 3, showing an increase, onward, upward, but I'm also hearing understood and overstood, as I felt guided to make that remark in itself today. The Hawk Prince, the Eyes of Beauty, the Sun Dancers, and the Ice Queen. All these people, places, things, situations to reflect on. Communication. The Hawk Prince is guiding us to continue paying attention, though. So we're not being guided to abandon these situations. Just observe them a little under a little bit with a little bit of structural maintenance. We'll just put it that way. Okay. The Eyes of Beauty. With clarity comes a new perspective, and to even have healthier expectations for them. And as a result, with the Sun Dancers and the Ice Queen side by side, an abundance of new ideas. But we're also being guided to not roll over these preserved ideas. So any preserved ideas that you have now, it's time to put them into action, because when the new comes in, again, there is not going to be a rollover. So anything that was not put into action as the new comes in is just going to be scrapped, squashed, done. It's a done deal. It's a farewell. It's a permanent farewell on any preserved ideas that we don't put into action in the now. A split. The Spirit Whisperer also came out for the second time. This time side by side with the Swan Queen. Higher knowing that is leading to a positive transformation. And of course, patience coming out again as patience showed itself in the first video. Oh, here I am looking for the other patient's card, and it was literally at the top of the stack, and the last card for me to see as I was observing from the other way. The resting tree, patience and stillness. Now we can be still and observe, but rest our lips. And that is the higher knowing. Observing without feeling as though we have to be the ones to address it. And as I said at the beginning of this video, even if we're divinely guided to address it, it does not mean that the person on the other end or their entourage of trolls are going to be perceptive or receptive of any of it. No, but what they will do is go sit with it later, even if they're sulking in the process. We made our remarks. Now we leave it alone. And the Lady of the Mirror is at the bottom of the deck, which also came out in part 1. But it was telling us that these false leaders were not on the path of non-judgment. They're on the path of judgment. And abusing that authority with, I'm hearing, a gauntlet that wasn't and isn't meant for them. So they will be handled accordingly. And we shall be handled accordingly as well, based on what we put out in terms of Gaia's garden. Reaping what we sow. But the message that came from this card is to remain on that positive feedback loop and even be more compassionate towards the ones who are corrupting the system from the top on down. Even the everyday people, the everyday lives people, the practical, they can abuse their authority as well. And to seal the deal on this message, we have the web weaver, cause and effect, as well as divine guidance and divine knowing and synchronicities. Synchronicity card came out in part 1. Okay. There is a message with a gecko. So, to close this video, we are going to look up the gecko totem pertaining to money matters. And this is where I'm going to need my other set of eyes. Because I'm reading this from a screen instead of a book where I can just pull it closer if need be. Geckos, asking us to be highly adaptable. Thus, this reptile's presence urges us to accept change, there's the little gecko. I wanted to say, like, it looked to me like she used her powers to shrink a dragon into a gecko. That was the vibe that I got when I was observing it before I made the conscious decision to look into the gecko. So this is like baby dragon, baby witch, baby magician type of energy. Reminding us that even as we have overcome the dragon and shrunk its ego down to a gecko, there's always room for us to continue to learn and adapt. This reptile's presence urges us to accept change when it comes and see adversity as an opportunity to improve ourselves. Confirmation of what I just said. If the spirit animal has recently crossed your path, it might be prompting you to be more attentive to your dreams as well, and saying that we should give fear no place in our lives, letting us know that we can triumph over anything. And the transformation we desire begins in even our own thoughts. Being encouraged to remain focused on our goals despite setbacks and challenges. And if we know what we want in life, we should go after it and not let anything or anyone discourage us. When this small lizard appears, It conveys that we are spiritually gifted and can access other planes of consciousness. Like the mosquito, encountering this spirit animal tells us to stop wasting our time and energy on things that don't improve our life. Additionally, sighting this reptile asks us to heed what our instincts are telling us. Geckos are symbols of healing, so the appearance of this reptile in our life may signify that we or a loved one will soon recover. And that message also came out in part 1, that these gamblers with a player mentality in a position where they are on the falseness, they are in that false energy of false leadership, false authority. But it came through before the ending that they too were going to be taking a time out and recovering and realizing that they were taking a risk in the wrong direction for their highest good and for the highest good of their collective, their followers, those who hang on every word they say, those who look up to them with stars in their eyes. They are too about to witness this player get their booty handed to them and take a time out and adapt. Recovery and adapt. Recovery and adaptation with that gecko. And this is the confirmation of that recovery and adaptation. We are being guided to be curious and remain open-minded. Geckos are super smart, spending a great deal of their time listening and observing those around them. Wow, now, isn't that something of a synchronicity? But being guided to be more like the folks who don't talk much and will only reveal things to people they trust. So telling their collective audience that their leader cannot be trusted is not the correct path for these particular situations, as they may have a lot of friends and acquaintances. But again, under all these false pretenses, stepping back, we are allowing them to fall. We do. Moreover, we have the spirit animal capable of adapting to many things, but also being extremely resourceful, gentle, compassionate, and humble. And we cannot be deceived, as we are human lie detectors. Nothing really surprises us anymore, and it rarely catches us off guard. And if that doesn't apply to you in this moment, you are being guided to embrace this totem, to be capable of adapting to many things, continuing to be resourceful, gentle, compassionate, humble, hard to deceive. That BS meter's going ding, 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 ding. That human lie detector. Of course, we know that nothing really surprises us anymore because we are well versed. This is not our first rodeo. This is not our first lap around the fishbowl. And if we are caught off guard, it's shame on everyone. But who really wants, shame and guilt and fear are literally at the bottom. They are at the core of these densities and dimensions. The lowest possible vibrations. Nobody wants to be knocked down that many pegs. So we can know without announcing it. 1:11:01 on the timer. We're ending it. Drawing this to a close to open things up for more intuitions and new beginnings with that 11:11 continuously appearing in different sequences. From here on out, there it goes again. So there we are. We are still at 1:11 and 30 some seconds on the timer. Thank you so very much for tuning in, beloveds. There it is again. With much gratitude and appreciation. Explore your options. Discern, discern, discern. And observe, but with less remarks for this week. Thank you so very much for tuning in. I hope these messages find you well whenever you tune in, and brightest blessings.